Welcome to the Inspiring Women of Iowa podcast, a special series amplifying the stories of the Inspiring Women of Iowa finalist. Inspiring Women of Iowa is an annual event hosted by Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa with the goal of celebrating women of courage, confidence, and character who are making the world a better place. Why does that sound familiar? Well, because it also happens to be the mission of the Girl Scouts, where they believe society is better because strong women show girls that anything is possible. This event was created by Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa in 2017 to celebrate women in our community and share their stories while raising support for the Girl Scout programs that build the next generation of inspiring women. 16 individuals are celebrated annually with the Courage, Confidence, Character, and Inspiring Advocate for Women awards. I'm your host, Sarah Noel Wilson. I am a business owner, a champion of women, and I'm also a proud Girl Scout alum, so massive love to Troop 238. And I am honored to have the chance to speak with these amazing, inspiring women and to share their stories with you. Today, I am talking to Dawn Martinez Oropeza. She is the executive director of the organization Al Éxito. Dawn, welcome to being our first Inspiring Women of Iowa who has been nominated for the Inspiring Advocate for Women Award. Welcome to our conversation.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be the first one.
It's no pressure for either of us. No,
yeah,
I'm so
right.
Okay. I know that people who will be attending will learn about your organization, but first I just want to hear a little bit about, before we get into the work you do, what do you want us to know about you as a person?
I'm a mother and now a grandmother. I'm very proud of that.
How recently?
She just turned a year in January. So
like new grandma.
Yeah, I'm a year-old grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my newest claim to fame. I am originally from Des Moines, Iowa. My parents I have a Mexican father and a Jewish mother who grew up here as well. Hardworking family. Got my degrees are in art. I went to the Art Institute of Chicago. Also and then I got my master's at the University of California, San Diego.
Okay.
And so that's great. Yeah. So I also, a few other fun things. I'll give you some fun things.
See, this is why I love keeping it so open-ended, because people are like, here, this is what you should know about me.
Yeah.
Do it.
I also do a lot of teaching artist stuff. I'm an artist. I do curatorial work. I do Aztec history, like Mexica history, and teach on that. And have done Aztec dancing, and I also do hula dancing. So I do traditional Hawaiian hula with Aloha Wind here in town.
Nice.
And I am a Kriya Yoga. I'm a Kriyaban. I study Kriya Yoga.
Okay.
With the Center for Spiritual Enlightenment out in California, San Diego, and San Jose.
You're a Renaissance woman. I love this about. There's, and I'm sitting here going, if we're on our other show, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, but I want to be thoughtful. So, I want to hear more about your organization. And one of the things that we want to hear from each of the nominees is, every single moment we get to make an impact in this world. And sometimes we're conscious of that impact and sometimes we aren't. And so what I'm curious to hear from you is, what is the impact you hope you are making on the world that you have available to you?
It's such a good question, and I probably should have prepared something, but
just have it come from the heart. Yeah.
Al Éxito, it will be my 13th year anniversary in March. And the same reason why I started this work is the same today as it was then. And, my parents were high school dropouts, got pregnant at 15, 16 years old. And I struggled to get my education and it was hard. And I didn't have the guidance, didn't have a lot of the resources that other students have.
Yeah.
But I made it through. I really, getting my master's was all because of my best friend, but, just the little things that you don't know.
Yeah.
I know that I can make it easier for other students. And it was started with my children, but Latino students especially don't have the same resources. And it's not because our parents don't care, which I hear a lot from the schools.
Sure.
It's because our parents work a lot of hours, and there's it's like a secret society in some ways to get through college, even high school, I think. And just wanted to make it easier for students, because that's the only way we're going to build leadership, Latino leadership, especially in Iowa. And I just want to make it easier.
I think that let me rephrase that. When you've always been a part of the dominant group, so I'm a white woman in Iowa, you take for granted that the implicit culture and the rules and the navigating the systems, and so I want to hear from you. What are some of the challenges, or what are some of the barriers that you are working to either push aside, or just from the standpoint of helping people understand who might be listening to this going like, well, what do you mean it's not easy? You just sign up for school and you just do this, and there are those like implicit rules that aren't always explicit, or procedures, or who and processes. And when you don't have access to those resources, that can create a barrier to your success.
With Alexito, I really hate talking about the barriers and the great, but no,
yeah,
but
no,
I will talk about the barriers.
Push against me. Like, where would you rather focus?
Because it is what it is, but there are significant barriers, and I also I'm the coordinator for the Iowa Latinx Project, which has a lot of data, and you can just go on there and Google, like you can hold down the dashboard and see just minimal amount of Latinas in the state who have a college degree or graduated high school. So a lot of them are just zero, a lot of our communities. So there are significant challenges, and, whether it is, one thing with Latinos in Iowa is that there's a huge economic gap.
Yeah.
And especially here in Polk County, is one of the largest. And when your family doesn't have money to feed themselves, or to heat themselves in the winter, or your first thing is on your family's going to push you to work. You need to work to be able to stay here. And a lot of times there's home, you have to send money home, to wherever you come from, or, we live in multi-generational families, so we have more people sometimes to feed. So that's a huge barrier. And so working is really crucial. And so there's that pressure to be able to bring in money. And I think that's just a poverty thing for everyone, anybody in poverty. But there's, we get overlooked a lot in the schools. Latinos are very, we've been targeted for a very long time in this country. And maybe a little bit more emotional because we're in a huge
crisis right now. Yeah.
And I think it's the first time I've talked about it publicly, but
so just like, I can't tell you that I'm safe because you don't know me, but I just want you to know that, like, I see that pain. I have loved ones experiencing that pain. So I just want you to know that your tears are safe here.
Well, thank you. I try not to cry, but it may happen.
That's okay.
So as a community, we have kept ourselves hidden. We started coming back out. 2016 was a big time when a lot of people just mentally, physically hid, and I see it in my kids. I see it at events. I see it with Latino youth interacting with other youth and on campus or at events. And so there's that barrier to step up and say, we're here, we deserve an education.
Yeah.
And so a lot of schools and places don't mind that there is a 20 to 25% gap of high school graduation rates, and because our parents, I'm going to take this back. I'm going to start with me. I didn't know, because my parents didn't know, that I learned that I had to be the best advocate for my own children. I didn't know what that meant. A lot of Latinos believe the school system has the best. You send your kid to school, especially in Latin America, and the utmost respect for every person that works there, from the PE elementary gym teacher to the music teacher to the art teacher to the principal. So much respect, and that you have the kids. You're gonna make the most of your child's education and capabilities. And I learned that isn't how it is here in the United States, and it took me a long time to learn that as a parent. But you need to be always knocking on the door and saying, and Latino parents, there's no one who speaks their language at the school. If there's one person for like 1,000 kids, like, they're not going to have time for you. So who's voicing that for our kids? And so hopefully, we're giving the youth enough tools. We do a lot of programming for our parents as well. But, it starts at elementary school. Like, so talking just about having the parents understand the need for higher education, or words like GPA, FAFSA, all these things that are like a hidden language, when English isn't your first language. That's difficult. That's really hard.
There's a number of things you said, and I want to just take a moment for people who are listening to this to hear the words and hopefully sit with the words of people needing to hide and to stay hidden and to stay invisible and to be in the background and simultaneously be on alert, right? I know from my family members' experience, there's an alertness now that didn't exist, a couple months before, and just to consider that that's the lived experience that so many are having right now, and the cost of that, right? The cost of that for mental, physical, emotional well-being, as well as the ability to be, everybody wants to be contributing to society and part of a community, and just the cost of that. So I don't have anything to say other than I just want to amplify that from the standpoint of like people who are listening to this to sit with that. And
I would love to share a couple of examples of how that plays out, because I think that it's not just right now, right? Like, and you understand that, but 2016, we were experiencing heavy, multiple students who, suicide attempts, self-harming was up considerably. So we did a mental health research and started training our leaders on that. But our kids were suffering a great deal mentally. During COVID, a lot of our families hid, and what they didn't, one of our kids, because we empowered our college students and our leaders to go out and do some surveying, and one of the kids said, we're not allowed to leave our home because they're going to blame us for COVID. So, and this is here in Des Moines. So they weren't even going to their Spanish-speaking churches for food or for health needs or leaving the home. And, so we gave out We were giving out food. We were doing, we've had students fail their whole semester and nobody called them from the school district. Nobody checked on them. So we were doing home checks and things like that. Created a new program to give out money to undocumented families with IMMJ, Iowa Migrant Movement for Justice. And can try to continue that program. But so it's, and now we have a rapid response. And so we're giving information to our families. But it is a daily occurrence that somebody will call and say, hey, do you know somebody in this community? Because we have programs across the state. Can you go verify a raid, or that ICE is at this place or that place? And it's every day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's for
bad.
people who are, I really appreciate you coming on and talking and sharing. For people who are listening to this and going, how do I help? What role can I play? Because I think right now, in this state of overwhelm, this state of what feels like just constant chaos and uncertainty, there's a lot of people who are looking for, where can I make a difference, or where can I make an impact? What are the best ways that people can support the work your organization is doing? What does that look like? What are the most pressing needs right now?
We can, it's a constant fear that I think for any nonprofit right now, that DEI, just even saying diversity, equity, or inclusion, and that's who we are. That you can't say those words, and but we have scholarship funds that a lot of our kids is scholarship, and we're keeping a close eye on a lot of what's happening at the legislature. Could lose their full scholarships. They don't have a safe place on campus. So having people provide operational supports to us, we're able to keep those students on campus. We provide scholarships. We have the Mary E. Campos Scholarship, and who's a civil rights leader here in Des Moines. We have, and then just operationally, so that we have middle school, we have high school, and we have college, and just making sure that we can be here. I'm worried about the grants. I know a lot of our funders are very supportive, our sponsors and foundations, but they could be under attack. I know a lot of them are losing some of their funding because they do support organizations like Alexito. And so we never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm the worst advocate for my own organization. I will say people do Iowa Migrant Movement for Justice. Erica Johnson's the director, one of my dearest friends. They could use every ounce of help that they can get. Financially, there's a RAID response that's statewide, and there's also one in Polk County that me and my coworker are on, because there's only two of us at work. And then we've also trained a bunch of students across the state to do Know Your Rights training and things like that, some of our own students. But supporting people can volunteer with Iowa Migrant Movement for Justice as well.
Okay. And what we will do, with your help, is we will post those links in the show notes so people have them. And then when we post about this and share about it on social media, we can, we'll just include it on our show notes so people have access to that. It's, it's a really heavy, hard time right now. There is a lot of pain. There is a lot of suffering. We don't even know the extent of it. And I want to just thank you for the work you're doing, for representing and advocating for the people who are most so targeted always, but especially right now. Um, I I'm at a loss for words, not because I'm trying to be careful of what I'm saying, but because of the overwhelming emotion that I'm feeling. And I'm not just not centering on me. I just like for people who are listening and like Sarah's struggling with her words. Um, I am so glad that your work is being amplified. I am honored to be in this conversation with you. And I guess, I want to be thoughtful of our time, and obviously like I want to keep talking to you and and we just need to have another conversation. But Dawn, for people who are listening to this and want to connect with you and want to learn more about the work you're doing, what is the best way for people to connect with you?
Definitely come to alexitoiowa.org. Okay. That's the best way to find out what we're doing or to reach out to us. We also have the Iowa Latinx Project. That's all spelled out .org as well. And there they can find up to date. This is the first time I've told anybody. It's now updated to 2024. Okay. Statistics around different communities across Iowa. We have housing, health, jobs. I'm trying to think of, and then just specific demographics. And so any community that has 1,000 or 5,000 or more Latinos. Sure. Yeah. And then you can compare, and you can see high school dropout rates. You can see graduation rates, things like that. Health. For people who are listening, what's the one thing you would want them to leave with from our conversation? Or what is one thing? Not the one thing. That's way too big of an ask. What is one thing? I end a lot of meetings. It's just that, and I say, especially for Polk County, 1 out of every 4 students is Latino. This is our future. And that, if people's boards or staff or administrators don't look like that, if 1/4 of them aren't Latino, they need to think about that, right? Like you're not opening doors, you're not making pathways. And I've seen how DEI has worked for a lot of other communities. Yeah. And I just feel like I hit a wall a lot with inclusion in Polk County and in Iowa. Yeah. People, it's just, we're not just hiding ourselves, especially those of us who have undocumented people in our family. You're being silenced as well, right? We're just invisible. And it's because it's, yes. Yeah, I think that isn't where I was going to head, because with the other questions I was going to talk about, here's the, but that's where I'm going. That's where I'm at. That's where we are. And I don't even think it's exactly where we are. And to pretend otherwise is not only at best is a disservice, as at worst it's destructive. And so I really appreciate you coming on, speaking so honestly, and letting this conversation go where it needed to go today. So thank you so much, Dawn. I really appreciate you. Thank you. And I'll tell you, it's because our students, phenomenal. They are phenomenal. And now I'm going to get teary-eyed. We have some amazing youth scholars. And if they can't fulfill their dreams, whether it's, we have Will, who just graduated from Indian Hills as a chef, and Ariana, who just came back from Puerto Rico, who's just incredible, leading our Iowa State program. If those kids lose scholarships or can't fulfill their dreams, we're all going to miss out. And it's already hard enough that they're going to even get a job. Even those that are in engineering and in business and accounting, and it'll be hard for them to get a job. And will they feel comfortable in places of business? And we're trying to equip them that they're really prepared for that. But it's the companies that have Latinos are bringing them in from South America, from other places. We have amazing talent in the state.
It's like, and leaders who are listening to this, the question we often ask them is, who gets to be safe? Like, who gets to belong, who doesn't? And what are we doing that's getting in the way of everyone feeling like they can be included? So I think this is a really important call to action. Dawn, I look forward to learning more about your story at the event in May. And thank you again for all the work you're doing for our community.
Thank you so much. There's so much more that can be done, for sure.
So hopefully this is a start to get the word out to more.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
The 2025 Inspiring Women of Iowa event will be held on May 9th at the Meadows Events and Conference Center. To purchase tickets and get more information about supporting this event, please visit inspiringwomenofiiowa.com. And all proceeds from this fundraising event stay 100% local to benefit Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa and their mission to build up girls of courage, confidence, and character who will make this world a better place. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.